we've always been really big advocates of chasing your dreams no matter what. And we kind of approach that from two different angles. I think your angle, do you want to say what your angle is as it relates to like pursuing your dreams unabashedly, no matter what?
I believe that you don't even have to believe in yourself to make it. I believe you just have to show up every day to do the thing that's going to get you one step closer. And you have to understand the feeling that you're going to have when you get there. And if you have those two things...
Understand the feeling or feel the feeling?
You have to... Well, both. You have to understand what it feels like. That's what I mean. Like, you have to know the feeling so well of abundance, of what it feels like to have the thing you're working towards, that you can sit there in your quiet times and like get into that person and like really visualize, not even just visualize, feel what it feels like to have become that person.
So what did you do? Like, what was that? Because I always go back to 2022. I got you this book for Christmas. Or maybe I told your mom to get it for you. I think
No, you got it for me. You got me a bunch of Brendon Burchard books.
Yeah. Some of them your mom got too, and she might watch this. So it could have been her that got it. But anyways, the point is, I was like, we need to get all of Brendon Burchard's books. And between her and I, we got you a bunch of them. And one of them was called The Millionaire Messenger. Great book. Gonna link it up in the description box. Highly recommend. But it always goes back to 2022, even though our story goes back years before that, of you reading this book and kind of realizing, well, what did you realize?
Well, first, I don't want to leave people with that thinking that I think that you just don't have to believe in yourself. Well, I think if you believe in yourself, first off, let me get this out of the way.
Okay.
If you believe in yourself, that makes things happen so much faster, because then what you're doing is you're activating. By the way, in these podcasts, we're going to talk about things that are a lot more metaphysical, we'll say.
What is it? Like superhuman stuff?
Yeah, superhuman design, ways you
Ethereal.
can like ethereal stuff, law of attraction, just resonant frequencies and stuff like that. Yeah, the juice. When you truly believe in yourself, then you sort of change your resonant frequency. And that allows things to happen so much faster when you're utilizing the law of attraction to get to your dream life. So if you believe in yourself, then you'll catapult there. But if you just follow the system, you can also get there. So the system is what Brendon Burchard laid out in Millionaire Messenger, the book. And the system is basically anybody can be a millionaire, is what he lays out. Like anybody, really. Everyone has a thing that they're an expert in, or that they're just really good at, or it's just a life experience that they've had that other people could really benefit from their teaching, their lessons. I've thought about so many people to try to play that game with myself, where I'll be like, what about my mom? It's like, yeah, she's really great with hospitality. She got, she has her Superhost thing on Airbnb and so proud of that. And, she could teach people how to do that. And that's actually highly valuable to them. So it's like, you can think of anyone on your life, and then you can think about their life and realize pretty quickly, like, everybody has something really special and unique. That special, unique thing is usually their zeal. Like, that's what we'll call it on this channel, the thing that like lights them up. So Brendon Burchard lays out, this thing that you're going to pursue, that you're going to be a millionaire because of, has to be something you can teach other people. It also has to be something you're going to want to do for the rest of your life. And that's super important. So that's when I played the exercise of like imagining I was a billionaire, or money just didn't even matter. And I just woke up and got out of bed and like, what was the first thing I would do? It's like, oh man, if I had all the money in the world, I'd have the coolest gardens ever. And I would go to my indoor, outdoor gardens and just pick my breakfast. And that's as far as I even had to get before I was like, oh, well, gardening, that's what I really want to do. So that book like opened up gardening for me. I mean, I was already gardening before that, but as soon as I read that book, it was like, okay, let's hit it hard. Let's do this, because this is what I'm going to do. And it's basically like you just get really good at it. And the book's about 10 years old now. So he did a lot more stuff that's a little more dated, like seminars and webinars and stuff like that, which you still can do. But now there's a lot more money to be made by just throwing it out to the masses and having a course or something larger that we can then offer people.
Yeah.
And that's where you started to find out all that sort of stuff. And you found out all the little details of all this background stuff that
Like
really has catapulted us.
Funnels and
because people, I'm sure, will look at Humble Growth and be like, but that has less subscribers than Living Zeal. How are you affording this life? What is your life even? Because it's not about the subscribers and stuff. We'll get into all the details of this kind of stuff, but just to keep it on the initial journey, like the book basically laid out, find that thing that makes you feel like when you're doing it, you feel all the abundance in the world. You feel all the good feelings. Like you could do this for the rest of your life and you would just be so happy with that, you know?
And I remember another piece of it being like service based, of like,
it has to be.
You have to find something that like really is going to help people.
Yeah.
And that intersection between something that you're really passionate about, something that you're really knowledgeable in and have a lot of personal experience with and have had an impactful transformation with, and then something that really is going to help serve people and move the needle forward. And I think that's why we're showing up on Living Zeal again, because there have been so many times, just to be honest, look right at the camera, there have been so many times over the past 5 years where we were like, Living Zeal is dead. We're not going to bring it back. Like that was bus life, van life. That's over. And so the channel's over. And the reason that we've brought it back is because we've had this transformation in our life where if you know our story, you know that we waited tables for a long time and then quit our jobs, converted out a bus and a van and other things, traveled, made the YouTube channel. We're super broke for many, many years, trying to sort of pursue our dream and get out of the like rent bill cycle and just do something different and get a little bit more space in our life to be able to be like, what do we want to do? We don't want to just show up for work every single day and then go home and repeat the cycle year on. So anyways, we've been on this journey of trying to pursue our zeal. And for us, moving to Hawaii has always been a huge dream, having our gardens here, raising our children here, being able to go swim in the ocean, even though I haven't done that in a really long time because we've been so busy at the property, getting things ready.
Like a week. A really long time for us is like a week.
It's been almost 10 days and the ocean is calling me. I'm like, once we get done with this, Mama's going to go over to Mama's beach. Yeah. But anyways, I think that's a big reason. I think this first podcast is kind of just catching people up because I think the majority of people that will watch this are folks that watched old Living Zeal videos and are kind of curious, like, why are you guys making content again?
Well, I have a story I want to tell because I was telling it at dinner last night and you weren't really around to hear the beginning, most of it, but it's like such a great part of the last 5 years of our life. And I want to share with everybody from Living Zeal because people have no idea.
I have no idea
what we've really been doing.
Oh, okay.
Well,
what's the story?
We're highly unusual in the way that let me just share the story. People can decide that for themselves.
Okay. I'm like, are we?
Maybe not. Maybe we just really believe in each other and that's a beautiful thing. So let's go back to 2021. We started a business. 2020, we started a business in Hawaii called, oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the original, skincare. Self-love skincare. And we loved it. And we made this really brilliant skincare product. And we sold it. We got to the point where we had an investor opportunity.
Still like the best physical product we've ever made. It's amazing.
Definitely.
Maybe we'll bring it back.
It was like the last time we actually made a video. Really, it was like when we were doing that. But we had an investor opportunity, but he said, if we're living in Hawaii, he's not going to do it. So we were like, oh, we want to do our skincare company. So we moved from Hawaii to Boise, Idaho in December. And then we were like, he wanted 50%
for 5 years.
For 5 years. And I was like, no. And he wouldn't budge from that. So then we backed out of the whole thing. So we left Hawaii, backed out of the whole thing anyway. So we were like, we're going to self-finance ourselves. Let's figure this out. Let's do it ourselves.
Neighbors walking by, if anyone catches that on you.
So we started a business making gnomes.
To self-finance our other business.
To self-finance the skincare company.
It's a long story how we started making gnomes and realized that there was money to be made, but we basically just identified there's money to be made.
There's people who are into these gnomes on Facebook.
And there's not enough people selling them.
There's not enough people selling them. Like there's an over demand where people were like waiting for these gnomes. So we're like, okay. I mean, that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
That's capitalism 101. You see a hole being filled, you go and you fill that hole. And that's exactly what we did. And we started making 6 figures first month. Boom. Well, $10,000 first month.
I remember us being like, we made $1,000 today. It was the first time since we had been together that we had money.
Real money.
Where we were like, yeah. Like,
Real
remember
money.
that car that we rented and we drove it back to Colorado? It was like so nice.
Infinity.
We went to the
QX80.
cabin. We could kind of just do what we wanted because we had a lot of money.
It was the first time we'd really experienced that. But then we were working like crazy. You know, the gnomes had a ceiling. They were about $32 each, I think.
$36 profit.
Yeah.
Sold them for $36 and it was cost about $6 to make them.
So about $30 profit.
Mm-hmm.
And
but they would take like an hour.
they take like an hour to make those.
Each.
So there was a ceiling that we got to pretty quickly, and we found like this silly thing that especially people in like Western culture do, where we'll make more money. So we'll start to just make our life meet that. We could have easily kept our life within these means and made more money and just saved it. But we were like, no, let's live in California.
And we decided that we were okay with working a lot because we were like, the money was at that point more valuable to us than pursuing our dreams because we had been pursuing our dreams without really dealing with our like
basic needs being met.
Yeah. And also I think that we've kind of unpacked this. So we had a lot of like strange stuff from childhood programming around money. I think that we were pursuing our dreams with our actions, but mentally we had a lot of blocks around calling in wealth.
We got to a point, we lived in California circa 2021, about a year into the gnomes. I was feeling hollow. I was depressed. I was spending a lot of time on the gnomes too. We were at that point I was probably spending a third of the gnome time, and Zaynah was doing 2/3 then. Because I was like adorning, and we were tag teaming Grayson. We only had one kid back then, but I was feeling, I was getting depressed because I wasn't. It's probably how a lot of people feel just going to work every day. And
not even, because I think a lot of people are numb. I think a lot of people don't even allow themselves to feel any feelings about, because what you're, not to interrupt you, but I think what you're about to go into is that like you were feeling like, well, go ahead and say what you were feeling.
Well, yeah, it's just that like, felt like I was clocking my time in. I was giving my time away, and then I was clocking it out. And that's true that most people, of course, would never. That's just what a lot of people tell themselves. That's just how life is, you know?
Yeah.
But when we started Living Zeal back in 2017, that was the main cornerstone of Living Zeal, and still is.
We activated our own selves to be like, we are here for a reason. We're all here for a reason, but we activated that within one another. And it was like a flip that could not be switched back the other way of like, we're here to do something big, not because we're us, but because we're now activated humans.
Mm-hmm. We have opportunity. Everyone has great opportunity nowadays with the internet and stuff. And like, we knew that there were bigger things that we could be doing, and we were
bigger calling.
Clocking our time in for these gnomes. Sure, we were working for ourselves, but we weren't. We were working for the gnomes, the people who were buying them. We were working for these people on Facebook. Yeah. So, Zaynah, here's the real point of the story is you're like, makes me want to cry. We got to a point where you knew that I needed you knew that I was depressed, and that wasn't okay. And we needed to change something. And it was right around that time, it was right around that point that I started really growing hydroponically, because we did a garden outside in California, and our water bill was like $300. Mm-hmm. And our landlord was like, "What happened, guys?" I was like, "Nothing, I just started a garden." So I switched to hydroponics
to
save water. And that's when everything sort of clicked. And you were like, go. You're free of the gnomes. Go. I'll do all the gnomes, everything. And I just want you to be happy and pursue the thing you need to do. So I started doing all this research. I started learning so much about hydroponics. I was going to go to school for it in San Luis Obispo.
You were going to like drive to LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were getting very inspired. But also at the same time, I didn't realize you were drowning in the gnomes because I'd stepped away. And I was just in my own world.
Working until 3 a.m. and then breastfeeding at night. And I was so, it took a while to like get fully drained, but I was
so deep in my own world, doing my own thing, thinking about how I could take you out of that. It's hard to even, I know looking back at it, like we can say it now, but at the time, I know you were never thinking in your mind, like this thing that I'm giving him time to do is actually going to save me from the gnomes.
It totally was.
Well, it's all later because we ended up moving out of the house in California because you were drowning in gnomes. We did a whole YouTube video. It's one of my all-time favorite videos when we renovated the RV.
Yeah.
And we left that San Luis Obispo house.
I was like, we just found out we were pregnant with Luca. I was pregnant with Luca, our second.
Mm-hmm.
It was like right after I found out I was pregnant with him. I was like, I cannot continue to be working like this and be paying for our life here in California. So let's downsize so you can continue to pursue your thing. And then I'll just work enough to just keep us going.
Yeah. So we moved into the RV.
Again.
No,
for the first time.
No, for the first time. This is when we did the RV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There would be an again.
There is an again. That's the funny part. There is an again. And we kind of realized pretty quickly it was hard to make gardening videos in the RV, but that's when I found some really interesting. That was actually when I found Motivation Manifesto, which I can't believe that wasn't before.
Mm-hmm.
There's this book, Motivation Manifesto. Go
Same
read
author.
It. It's the best book in the world. It's my favorite book ever. And I found it when we were in Sedona, Arizona in that RV, and that's what changed my life. I read that book cover to cover and like fell in love with it. And then a month later is when I got all the books, the Brendon Burchard books, Millionaire Messenger, and that's when it all came together. So I didn't know when we moved into the RV that I was going to be doing the YouTube channel about hydroponics. We didn't know all that. We just knew that we needed to
find our zeal again
and find our zeal.
Yeah, we knew we had lost it, and the money was like, it was cool for probably 6 months, and then it was like, this exchange is not worth it.
I think I resented the money at some point because it was like, I don't care anymore. I just want my zeal back. I want that fire back, you know?
And so interestingly, I have to say, as soon as we mentally and energetically decided, like, we don't really care about the gnomes, we don't really care about the money that we're making from them, we started selling less. Like, people started buying less. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting, like, where your attention goes. What is it? Energy goes, attention goes, whatever.
Became a real struggle at that point. And we started to really resent the gnomes because it was the only thing making us money, and we hated trying to do it on the road. It was a whole thing.
Tried to convince ourselves we liked them because we were like,
My point of this, though, is we did this for a couple of years, where Zaynah did the gnomes and I did a YouTube channel that was not making any money, nothing. And I even took money that she made from the gnomes and invested it thousands of dollars into gardens and lights and all the things that I needed to make the channel. And
we moved out of the RV.
I told you, we moved out of the RV into Colorado, into a house in Colorado. I took the RV and I spent thousands of dollars turning the RV into a huge hydroponic garden. And it was a whole thing. And I told you the whole time, I was like, please just believe in me. And you did. And I was like, because there will be one time you'll be able to stop working on the gnomes. And you wanted to believe that so hard.
I did believe it, but I was also really struggling to still make the gnomes and pay for the expenses of rent.
You were still drowning, and I was doing something that was making no money for like a long time. And I
always believed in you. It was never that I didn't believe in you. It was just also really, really hard for me.
Well, no one else. I mean, it got to the point where other people, I saw people looking at me and our family and our friends group, and they would look at me like, what are you doing, bro? Like, your wife is drowning in children and gnomes, and you're over here making videos about hydroponics that aren't making any money. Like, go get a job.
And there wasn't really like a business plan for Humble Growth at the time? Like,
sort of, it was like, I need to find my platform. I need to find my base. And then I'm going to start making more guides and content towards them. But it needed to be the other way around. I needed to already have the guides in place to start selling them off the bat. That's another podcast.
Yeah, basically
about
we knew
stuff.
Yeah, you were doing all the content stuff. Yeah. And we didn't have the business plan, which now we have, and I like would love to share it with even our neighbor right now. We're trying to teach him like everything that we've done to be able to monetize Humble Growth, because he's about to start his YouTube channel, and we're like, we want you to do this first so that you start making money instead of making content.
Yeah.
Because most people make content and don't make money, and then just it fizzles out.
You can start making money on YouTube
right away.
Day one with one video
or
with
Instagram,
one view.
or anything.
With one view, one view can be worth. If you have because that's what I did with Humble Growth. So I have courses, I have guides and courses. I have a lot of free guides. I have some $20 guides, some $10 guides, and then I have a $100 course and a $150 course and a $35 course, all very specific needs. And those are what make us money.
We sell them every day.
We sell them every day.
And affiliate links.
You don't even have to be monetized. I've even thought about demonetizing the channel to not have to make people watch commercials, but then YouTube puts commercials on them anyway. So I was like, well, forget it then. I'm not even going to bother. But because it's not about the AdSense for me. AdSense are like little that's like, oh, let's go out to dinner. We just got AdSense.
People might not even know what AdSense is.
What you get for YouTube videos. And that's what a lot of people think you make money from doing YouTube videos is
the ads.
Is the ads, but it's nothing. Like, you can make money right now if you have a course, something you can sell somebody that's really helpful, and you just hit that person with your video.
Yeah.
Boom. You don't have to be monetized or anything. So anyway, we're trying to help our neighbor do that to get him set up. That's what we did for Humble Growth, finally.
Yeah.
After 2 years of doing Humble Growth, we threw in everything and moved to Hawaii. We sold everything we owned. We decided, Zaynah was 8 months pregnant.
With Chloe, our
third. This is just last year. We were sitting in our RV in Asheville, North Carolina, and
a little, like, just over a year ago.
Mm-hmm. And I looked at Zaynah, and we both had been talking about Maui. We're like, no matter how beautiful our life gets here, we always know that's gonna be in our mind. So we sort of were trying to push Maui away to embrace our new life in Asheville. And I looked at you, and you were like, I just want to be in the ocean having contractions.
Yeah. And I felt like we had, like, Hawaii was such a dream for us for so long. And because so many different circumstances, we moved away from Hawaii twice. I felt like I had to punish myself, and I couldn't have that dream back because I was so mad at myself for us leaving Hawaii that I was almost like I have to, like, sit in this punishment of never returning, which is so silly. But yeah, you gave me the freedom to kind of be like, what do you really want? Like, where do you really want to give birth? And at the time we were like, moving back to Hawaii was not really on the horizon. And in fact, we would talk about it like, someday we're going to have land in Hawaii. Like, someday, even when the kids are older, like, we'll go buy something there. And it was to the point I couldn't even watch content. I couldn't follow people on Instagram that lived in Hawaii. I couldn't see any of it. Even the ocean was, like, triggering for me. I was like,
when you told me you were deleting all the people's accounts on your Instagram and stuff, that's when I knew.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
Hawaii has a hold on me.
So the day after you said that you wanted to be giving birth in the ocean, we sold the RV.
Well, I just want to go back to that moment for one moment and unpack it. So Hawaii was not on the horizon at all. We weren't even talking about it. I was going to be, I think I was not 8 months. I think I was like 7 months. I think I had like 8 or 9 weeks until I was due to give birth. We were like going to give birth there on that land. Like, we were signed, sealed, delivered. There was no moving back to Hawaii. And I think you asked me, like, where would I really want to give birth? Because I think I was thinking about, like, well, maybe I'll give birth down by the creek, or maybe I was just trying to figure out on that land, and nothing felt right. Like, I couldn't visualize giving birth to her there. And then you asked me, like, we weren't talking about Hawaii at all. You were like, where do you want to give birth? And I was like, I really just want to, I see myself having contractions in the ocean, which is like, yeah. So then we had, I think, one conversation that day, and at the end of it, we did this thing, which is very rare and unusual.
Not
where
for us.
Yeah, for people, not for us,
not
though.
For us. Other people are like, what?
This is what it is.
My poor mom who lives on the East Coast was like, are
You're
you
doing what
me?
now? We allow ourselves, if it feels like something is really out of balance, we allow ourselves to have a conversation with one another where it's like we throw everything out, everything this should, could, must be, this, and just kind of lay it down and allow ourselves to play with laying it all down and like re-picking up the pieces just in one conversation with each other. Just to imagine like, well, what if we did it all? What if we flattened everything and just pulled these things up? And it used to be that we'd have these conversations a lot and it would start to stress if we weren't both having that same conversation, it would kind of stress the other person out because the other person would be like, wait a second, you're having one of those where we're like flattening everything out conversations. So we had to make sure we were both on the same page.
It stressed me out.
Yeah.
Because you would come to me sometimes and I'd be comfortable in our life.
Yeah.
You'd be like, let me just throw a wrench in everything. What if we did this? Or
let's just play with it.
I didn't understand the game we were playing. Once I understood the game,
it's just a mental game.
A little more that we were actually just running through an exercise of what ifs. It wasn't like, this is serious unless we both were like, had that moment of clarity. To get
to the feeling. I've just realized the whole reason I would play that game was to get to a feeling. If we both talked and imagined and then we like would make eyes and be like, oh my gosh, like that feels right for both of us, then we would kind of know like, okay, that's where we're headed. Yeah. And then anything else in our life that was constructed, anything else would fall to the wayside and then we would start to pursue the thing. And I know that might sound crazy to some people, but I like to look at it as like carving I think of like a ice sculpture or something where you're like slowly carving it and things are melting away and there's always something underneath it the whole time, even when it's one big chunk of ice. And our past 8 years together has been one chunk of ice where we're like slowly melting it away and carving it down. And to the outside, I think a lot of our friends and family have looked at us and been like, you guys, I mean, we've been told, I don't think this, we've been told by friends and family lovingly for the most part that like you guys are crazy and you need to settle down. You need to chill, settle into your life. So many times. You guys need to
settle down for the kids. You need to settle down.
And we knew that. We knew we wanted to settle down, but it was like we weren't willing. We wanted to settle down, but we weren't willing to settle.
We weren't willing to compromise.
Yeah.
And if you guys follow the news, Asheville, not long after we left, got hit with a flood.
Yeah.
And if we were there during that flood, our position of the RV on that land, we would have been in devastating.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what would have happened. We would have fallen down that hill. We were hanging off the side of a hill that would have just washed away.
Yeah. We were like, going to buy that land, going to free birth by that creek. Like, yeah, it is so wild. Because
it's funny how many things we've. Yeah.
Yeah. Where were we going with this? We're a little rusty. That's okay. I just want to go back to that moment for a second because it actually is so insane. Like, we had this conversation, we played, Chad asked me, and then at the end of that day, we were like, we had clarity and we were like, we have to go back to Maui. We absolutely have to go back to Maui. And then we had this timeline of giving birth there where it was like, we have to go back before she is born because we don't want to travel and move with a newborn. I was like, it'll be so much easier when I have her inside of me than to be like having a newborn in my arms. So we, on a pivot, like the next day, we went to Home Depot, got some paint to like repaint the RV, clean it up because we had poured probably like $20,000 into that RV, making it really nice more than that, over the year before. Yeah. And that was going to be like something we definitely wanted to sell, and our car and some other things. And so we made it nice in like a day, posted pictures on Facebook Marketplace, and then got flooded with people wanting it. And we sold it the very next day.
Someone gave us more than we posted it for.
And then we hopped in our car, drove back to Colorado to my mom and Steve's house. Bless my mom and Steve, because I know that they're going to be watching this.
We would have gone straight to Maui, but we had cats. If anyone's been to Hawaii with pets, oh my gosh.
We had to do the whole like animal thing so that they wouldn't be in quarantine when we landed here, which we have moved to Maui twice before. So we had been through that process. We went back to Colorado. We stayed with them for a month, or we stayed with them for 6 weeks.
It was a month and a half. Yeah, 6 weeks.
Yeah, we stayed with them for 6 weeks. Thank you guys. With our 2 young children.
9-month pregnant Zaynah.
Yeah. And then for that 6 weeks, it was just like mission, get our life sorted.
Yeah.
And we
went there with enough money, with a cushion, because we sold everything we'd owned. We went there with a cushion to kind of pivot a little bit, to not have to do the gnomes anymore. But we just kind of, okay. let me tell this story. We got to Maui
Last May.
And we mailed ourselves the things that we needed to do the gnomes, because we were like, we will need money. You know, it's expensive out here.
And we didn't want to go get a job, obviously. We wanted to continue working for ourselves.
Rent well over $3,000. We knew we needed, I mean, it cost us like almost 10 grand just to move into the place.
Yeah.
So we knew we needed money just to live. So my plan, because Humble Growth wasn't making us any money.
Yeah, I was just going to say Humble Growth was still not making money.
It was making us like $300 a month off of, not even. It was making us like nothing, you know.
Maybe 300. We'll
maybe
be nice to
altogether.
it.
That was not enough to survive. So I actually went out and I applied to a couple places. I applied to a brewery. I was going to go back to waiting tables and just kind of throw in the towel on Humble Growth, because it was more important to me that we got to Maui to have Chloe and then kind of figure out what we're going to do after we'd gotten to Maui, rather than be like, I still need to do my dream. I still need to do it. You know, I held on for like a couple of weeks, and then I remember being like, no, I'm going to go. So I went and applied, and nothing happened. Thank God nothing happened, right? And then I might be telling this timeline a little bit off.
Yeah,
because we, first off, before I even get into me going applying for jobs, we didn't get the stuff that we mailed ourselves, the gnome stuff. So we sent ourselves our scissors, our materials, our hot glue, and we got
like
everything
6 months worth of inventory we sent to Maui.
We gotten everything else that we sent ourselves.
And just randomly, the gnome stuff
didn't come. Yeah. And the skincare stuff, we were going to do some skincare stuff. That didn't come either. So we were like, what is going on? It was like we were being forced.
Mm-hmm.
So
we were like, we have to throw it all into Humble Growth, basically.
And we knew we had to do the course. So Zaynah learned everything about
I was still pregnant with Chloe. Yeah, I basically just was like, we are going to monetize Humble Growth. We have to start making real money with this. Mm-hmm. To go from making, and mind you, at the time, we had never really made money with a YouTube channel. Like, we never made money with Living Zeal before.
No.
We had sold like a cookbook and like a bus guide, but we had no idea what we were doing.
We were struggling.
We could have made so much money if I would have known. We would have known what we know now back when we started Living Zeal. Who knows like what trajectory we would have been on had we known the back end business stuff of YouTube and social media that we know now. But yeah, so I like became obsessed with the back end, and you were working on making content. And then we kind of just married those two worlds and dropped the first course that you made called the School of Hydroponics. And then from that point on, it was kind of like we were going. Like,
we haven't done anything else since.
Yeah.
I didn't get the jobs.
The gnome stuff eventually came, and we threw it in the trash.
We threw them all in the trash. We're going to have a ceremonious bonfire and burn them, but they're all like synthetic plastics.
We're like, we don't want to now give ourselves cancer. The last thing the
gnomes will give us cancer.
That is like another pivotal moment. I know I don't know how long we've been going. Our kids are chilling. But
the gnomes didn't make us feel abundant. Even though they gave us all the money in the world that we ever needed to survive, they never made us feel truly abundant. Like we had more than enough.
They made us
we were overflowing with, and when I say abundant, I'm not just talking about having your basic needs met and having more than enough, just physical stuff, but like the feeling of like, as a human, just having your cup filled.
I remember thinking that when we didn't have any money, thinking that when we have money, I will feel at peace. And then I remember doing the gnomes, having money, but waking up, and I had like these two gorgeous babies, Grayson and Luca, and like dreading my day because I knew that I had to show up for our business, and it felt horrible. To now being in a position where it's like I wake up and it's like, where would be the most serene place to have my coffee? Should I do it at my beautiful couch watching Chloe crawl around? Should I go sit on the daybed outside and listen to the birds? Like, should I go over by the pool and like watch you clean it there's so many beautiful ways to feel our abundant life right now. It's so abundant that I'm like, what do I choose today? What, and like, that's an amazing place to be. It feels that's what you're talking about when you're talking about abundance.
And I can't thank you enough for believing in me and pushing through with the gnomes and not telling me making me go get a job, because I felt like a bad. I know.
Where I was stressed.
I know. where you wanted me to just go get a job. I actually had to fight for it sometimes, but
You did. Yeah. I definitely believed in you, but I also
wanted money.
it was hard.
Yeah. Because the gnomes were just eating you alive. And then it got to the point where we couldn't even sell them anymore, when they weren't even really selling.
Yeah.
So
that was crazy.
Yeah.
You were thanking me though? I'll receive that. I'll receive your thanks.
I mean, it's unusual for a wife to do what you've done, I feel like, and continue to believe in me and continue to believe in us. And I feel like I'm really proud that now I can offer that to you. You don't have to do the gnomes anymore. We're making really good money off of Humble Growth.
It's just the beginning.
And it's just the beginning. And it's really cool. It's really, really incredible. And I really hope that there are people watching this that want to do something that's with your gifts and your talents and the things that you're really good at that can change the world in your little niche, you know, because that's what we need. If everyone in their little niche changes the world in their little niche, then everyone will rise. You know, what is it? All the ships rise when the tide comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can all be a little push to that tide.
I think because, you know, when we were doing Living Zeal before, it was like we believed that everybody deserves to live their zeal. But the life that we were living was not that inspirational.
We were on the journey.
Yeah.
The journey's hard and long. And Zaynah, you said the other day, I thought we'd be there so much sooner. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It took 6 years of pushing hard, failing a lot, failing hard.
Being really uncomfortable.
Super uncomfortable. Putting ourselves in positions where we failed in front of a lot of people, in front of our own family, in front of people that we put ourselves out there in social media. And we just kept getting up and believing in ourselves, though, and we kept doing it. And I'm really proud of us for that, because this is just the beginning of a really, really awesome new chapter that we just stepped into.
And it's interesting because we're like stepping into this new chapter physically, like where we live and, you know, this garden and the land and everything. But I still feel like between us, our relationship, but also internally, we still have it's almost like we need to catch up to where we're at physically, because I almost feel like our emotional state, our nervous system isn't tuned into the fact that we are living in abundance right now. We're still kind of like, there's this like survival energy that I think we both feel between us. And we're sort of navigating how we'll help our nervous system catch up to what's actually going on and create space for it.
To be honest with you, I think it's the kids. I think it's the kids. 3 kids constantly makes it really hard to feel like you can get your head above the water. I mean, for me,
unless you go out in nature.
My nervous system.
That's why I think it's so important. We're going off script a little bit, and we have no script, but I think that we need to be getting out into nature as much as possible. And obviously, the Gulch is huge. Doing the garden is huge, but it's still a task that needs to be completed. Going to the beach is not a task that needs to be completed. It's just out doing play, and we're going to go to the beach Southside Monday. Southside Monday.
Swearing?
Going to Southside Monday.
It's tomorrow.
I know. That's why I'm making you
Sunday.
pinky me before Chad's like. Actually, Chad's very good at getting things done. And honestly, I'll thank you for a moment, because I like peace. I really value peace, but I think that sometimes I can value peace more than productivity, and that's sort of where we balance each other out, where it's like if you're so in your like flowy peace bubble, you may feel really good all the time, but we still live in a 3D world. Your physical life might not represent your internal world, meaning you might not have the other things that you need or want in order to have everything that you want out of life. And I didn't realize how rare, except for this past year, how rare your drive is. Even looking at like other men and women that we have been in contact with, other business owners, like you really have this drive to get shit done that is unparalleled. Like most people don't have it. And yeah, I just want to take a minute and say like you you really have something special in that. And sometimes it drives me crazy because I'm like, settle down, like just be here with me now. And I do think you need to work on that. But I also know that if you didn't have that drive, you also wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
So it's both.
Yeah. I mean, it all ties back to what we our original Living Zeal. I remember talking about one of my favorite soul chats I ever did. We were traveling around the West Coast in our bus. And we were up in wine country. I was talking about how, like, when you're young, you create a dream that's like this tangible thing you can hold, and it's amazing. It's like, yes, this is who I am. And then as you get older, you know, it kind of gets whittled away, and it's your responsibility to protect it from people blowing it away, and it's your responsibility to build it.
You're talking about like sand, I think, is what it was.
Well, it
like,
becomes
it'll blow
sand.
away and fall through
your. At the end, if you don't protect it, it will just crumble. But that's I take that very seriously. You know, if I don't show up every day, no one's going to tell me to show up every day. I tell myself to show up every day. And if I don't, then I'm just allowing more of it to slip through my fingers.
Yeah.
And a lot of it just goes back to time. I don't feel like time is scares the shit out of me. I hate time. It sucks because it's always, you know, there just screaming in your face. Our kids are growing up, and
it's so interesting to hear you say I hate time, because that is kind of what I see in you. It's sort of this, like, I don't even really have the words for that right now, but I don't want you to hate time. How could you flip that?
I mean, I need to step into the fact that we've arrived, for one, because my problem with time is that I'm projecting into the future. Mm-hmm. So I'm projecting
the life,
you're right, the life that I've been working towards and hustling towards so much. If I don't get there now, then I'm never going to get there. It's going to be gone, and then I'll not have it. And it's like, well, no, I have it. It's here. My life's here. I'm amazing life. Everything I've ever dreamed of. So I need to step into that and allow the cortisol levels to drop that have just been coursing through my body naturally for the past few years, 7 years maybe. And yeah, I need to just embrace it. It was easier to do when we get closer to the beach, I guess. I feel like maybe I just need to go to Ho'okipa more or something.
I live like 5 minutes further.
Yeah. I don't know. There's really no excuse. I just need to find a good flow. Thanks for tuning in for the first episode. We're going to probably try to stay on point a little more in the future.
I think this is good. I think we'll listen back and be like, that was good. I think we really just wanted to catch people up, because in the future, like the way that YouTube works, a lot of times people who are subscribed are not always the people seeing your videos. It's new people. But because we are just back, we really wanted to make an episode kind of just like rounding off the past 5 years, even though there's probably a lot of questions. And feel free to leave your questions in the comments. I will get on and try to answer any more questions that you guys might have. But in the future, we'll just keep doing our thing, keep exploring these topics in more depth, and yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next Thursday.
Yeah.
Or Sunday.
So just in a couple days. Today's Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days we'll have a new Living Zeal video, which we haven't started filming. So we should probably talk about what we're going to do this week. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
But first, let's go to the beach.
The beach.